Join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. I would like to call roll.
Commissioner Cecil Pendergrass.
Here.
Renita Forden.
Here.
Mike Gibson.
Here.
Fran Myers. Here. Anita Teresita.
Here.
Pam Cronin.
Here.
Tony Lapi.
Here.
Pauline Pasquale.
Here.
Rob Wells.
Here.
Bill Wachulis.
Here.
Brian Kramer.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Thank you. We have a motion to approve the April 15th, 2017 meeting minutes. All in favor? Any opposed? Item moves forward. This time, public to be heard. Any public input this time? Good morning. Thank you for coming.
Is there a microphone? Jack Carver with the Florida Automobile Association. Haven't been around for a while, but had a very, very busy season. And I just wanted to report that we had a terrific season as well. We dropped from a 5-county area for that show. We ended up at we started at the sports complex, and we ended up last April with the sports complex again after 4 shows. We drew a total of about close to 19,000 people. And very successful season, and we promoted not only the RV lifestyle, but of course the Fort Myers, Lee County area at all of our events. So it was a very successful season, and I'm just glad to be back and have it behind me. Thank you.
Great, thank you for coming today. Share the good news. Any other comments from the public at this time? Okay, move on to municipalities be heard. Any cities here? Judy, good morning.
Good morning.
Judy has some good news from Sample for us.
Good morning. My name is Judy Farmer. I'm the city manager of Sanibel. With me this morning is our mayor, Kevin May. I'm arriving for mayor to looking for him.
There he is.
The reason I wanted to give you a brief report is one of the things Sanibel has liked to do over the last 15 years is provide the TDC feedback on the projects that we're implementing. There's 2 specific projects today that I'd like to update you on. The Moby Map, and Mr. Wells has long been an advocate for this and a supporter, as well as handicap accessibility in general. And I want to show you, the other day I was doing a beach inspection, and which is one of the best parts about being a city manager, is I was doing a beach inspection, and I came across
That's better?
that was funded by TDC. So I thought the difference on that was really remarkable. When I posted on my first personal Facebook page, I had over 2,800 people take note of that particular video, which I think is one of the highest I've had. But I also thought you might be interested in a few of the comments. Kathleen Rice wrote, after my back surgery, I'm very grateful for those maps. Thank you. Sanibel is the best. Sharon Mitchie wrote, I love these maps. I've been a disabled member of my family, and these maps have been a game changer. And then we have someone who wrote, I love this. How wonderful. So first I want to thank TDC for recognizing that the beaches are used by many people and how valuable it is when we can promote and put present the fact that we have multiple use projects.
The other fun project I wanted to bring you up to speed on is what we're calling the Living Shore Project. And at the Lighthouse Beach, you may be aware, the last several years we've had a continual erosion problem on the shoreline, and the lighthouse is the #1 photographed icon of Lee County, and it's really blocked off access to the lighthouse several times in the last few summers. So we are doing a project called the Living Shoreline, and with the Living Shoreline, this is one photograph of the work. This is the Sanibel Lighthouse right here. So, go in here. The other good thing about this particular photograph is it really shows you the water quality we're experiencing this year, mostly due to the drought and the lack of releases, but we think it's a pretty remarkable photograph from that perspective. There's the fishing pier, of course, that you all funded the renovation for, just completed a few weeks ago. And then in addition to that, we have the Living Shoreline. The Living Shoreline is also the pictures that I passed out to you. And so rather than just vegetation or just riprap, it's a combination of utilizing oysters that we put in place, some minimal concrete and rocks, as well as living vegetation. And the plantings were just completed this week. We're hoping that the drought ends and we get some rains to establish a good root system. But approximately 2/3 of the funding for that project were TDC funding. So hopefully this summer we'll be able to keep the lighthouse open for all the visitors, and we appreciate your support on both of these projects. Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go. It's nice. Thank you.
Judy?
Oh,
Two questions.
sorry.
I'm sorry. What kind of trees are these?
I'd have to get you a plant list, but they all, I know they're, yeah, right. They're all native, and they all are compatible to this. They're all salt resistant.
And where are the oysters?
They'll get placed at the very end, and we get them in bags, and then we place them right there. And first you put the cages in, then you put the actual live oysters in the oyster beds. We've done that in several locations because they also help with the water quality. They're a filter system.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Any other cities here that could be heard? Okay. Move on to our special presentation. And next we'll be hearing from Roland Alini. Most of you know who Roland is. He works with Lee County for many years now, and I think Roland's going to go a little bit what Lee County's done in the last few years and what we're doing in the next 4 years. Lee County spent millions of dollars over the last few years, water quality projects, and Roland's going to give us a little summary of what we'll be doing in the future, and also a video to show too.
Good morning. We have a short video presentation we're going to show first that Public Information Office put together.
Lee County Commissioners have made decades of significant funding commitments in the tens of millions of dollars to water-related projects and infrastructure. Water quality is paramount to the way of life in Southwest Florida. More than $25 million have been spent on water quality projects in the last 10 years, and substantial funding is planned for future projects. The current county commissioners have made frequent visits to Washington, D.C., Tallahassee, West Palm Beach, and Okeechobee for water-related meetings. Wetlands, such as the Caloosahatchee Creeks Preserve, are important in improving water quality, controlling flooding, and reducing erosion, while providing habitat for a variety of plants and animals.
We designed the restoration project to be very low maintenance in the future, so there are no pumps to break down, no replacement parts. It's all non-nature taking care of everything, so it's a low-cost restoration project.
Florida's weather, beautiful beaches and rivers attract people to live and vacation here.
Water quality is very important to our way of life, to the enjoyment of Lee County citizens and visitors to the county, and it's really been a commitment on the Board of County Commissioners' part to fund a lot of these very important projects that we're doing in our own watershed to contribute toward improved natural resources and water quality in Lee County.
At Lakes Park, one of the most popular regional parks, it is Lee County's vision to conserve, protect, and restore the landscape at the park so that it provides both a productive, functional, and viable system for wildlife and an outdoor recreational site for people. The park serves as a critical natural site for water flowing into Estero Bay from the South Fort Myers urban area. This engineered sinuous water cleaning system is right in your backyard for all to enjoy. Testing the water samples can be done right here in Lee County at the Environmental Lab, and its purpose is to provide environmental testing, monitoring, assessment, and information services to benefit both residents and the natural environment. This includes providing water quality testing for Lee County residents in a cost-effective manner. Water quality monitoring of surface waters is also an important function.
The water quality has been a focus of Lee County for a better part of 15 to 20 years. And it's important because it allows the county commissioners to make decisions based on real science and water quality data.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. I've been asked to give a water quality update to this council, and there we go. What I thought I'd do is first go over some of the regional water management issues, then bring it a little closer to home and talk about the Caloosahatchee itself, and then look at some specific things that we're doing in Lee County, and finally wrap it up with an action plan. Yep, most of you have probably seen this slide before, basically pre- and post-development Everglades. One of the big changes you see here is the conversion of the old Everglades Sawgrass Plains to basically agriculture south of Lake Okeechobee, and massive amount of development along the East Coast. And this plan for this area was started in the mid-1800s. Primary focus or issue, obstacle to deal with is water. And in the early 1900s, they channelized the Caloosahatchee and St. Lucie River, provide navigation across the state. And also, hurricanes in the 20s and the 40s created some devastating impacts to the area south of Lake Okeechobee. The federal government came in, they developed the Central and South Florida Water Control, Flood Control Project. And basically, it created the drainage system you have in place today. It was approved by Congress, I think, in 1948. And basically, this is the drainage system that's in place. Flood control, the primary objective. It also deals with water supply, navigation, saltwater intrusion, protection of the remaining part of the Everglades. And basically what they did was straighten the Kissimmee River, built the Hoover Dike around Lake Okeechobee, developed the Everglades agricultural area south of Lake Okeechobee for agricultural purposes, developed the water conservation areas for water supply to the East Coast and for water supply to the Everglades National Park. And that project was constructed between 1949 and 1970, a massive project. It's pretty big. I mean, it's 2,100 miles of canals, 2,000 miles of levees, over 1,200 water control structures and culverts, 71 stormwater pumping stations. You see these when you cross the state. And it's all operated on a regional telemetry system. They have 57,000 acres of stormwater treatment areas south of Lake Okeechobee. 450,000 acres the lake itself, the storage capability of the lake itself. Then south of that, the water conservation areas are about 960,000 acres. Huge system. Challenge of moving the water south. This is what you hear, and this is what everybody comes up, well, why don't you just put the water back where it started, where it used to be? And I've been working with this for many years, and those who are my counterparts throughout the system, you quickly realize that there's a lot of constraints in the system. The Water Management District put this slide together. I think it's worth going through a few of these points here. And I can tell you, this ecosystems throughout the system, there are folks that are as passionate as their system is as we are as the Caloosahatchee. Just starting at the top, weather patterns. You have to be a good weatherman, not only just predicting a week in advance, but you have to know what's going to occur months in advance. Is it going to be a dry season? Is it going to be a wet, dry season? Is it going to be a wet season? Or is it going to be a dry, wet season? Because the water moves into Lake Okeechobee 4 times faster than you can move it out. So they have to be able to predict those types of forecasts well in advance. The biggest driver, too, is the Lake Okeechobee operation schedule. Its primary focus is flood protection, but also provides water supply deliveries in the dry season. The biggest obstacle there is the Hoover Dike. It's structurally impaired. It's got problems. So it maintains a cap on how high the lake can get. The ability to move water south is also limited by the structures of Lake Okeechobee. There's no big giant spillway that you see in most dams out west. They're all gated structures. They have a limited capacity when you open them up. The canals themselves have a capacity of sending water. Then once you get further down south, you've got protected species, you've got water quality constraints. There's a federal lawsuit that says the water's got to be a certain quality before it goes south. You've got conditions with the Miccosukee Indians. You've got pump stations. Now, a lot of this land is settled, so gravity feed is not necessarily there anymore, so you have limited capacity of pumps to deliver water south. And then you have, each one of these water conservation areas have their own operation schedule, and they have protected species within those as well. You have flood concerns to the east coast. You have a levee is compromised. You have outfall capacity to the coast that have certain capacity. Then once you finally get the water south along Tamiami Trail, there's a certain amount of openings that can only deliver a certain amount of water. So, and then there's certain protected species there, the Cape Sable seaside sparrow, that you can only send water certain times of the year. So it's not that easy. Just say, buy the land, send it south. In fact, it really provides just a small, that 60,000 acres that they're talking about, it's really a small footprint compared to the overall needs in the watershed. So what is the fix on the books? The Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan is better known as SERP. It's a 50-50 state and federal partnership, and its basic mission is to restore and improve the quality, quantity, and timing of waters to the Everglades and also to the northern estuaries. But they have many masters. We've got to satisfy water needs of the environment, agriculture, and urban. And of course, besides projects, they're also looking at leasing lands, working with farmers to temporarily hold water on their lands, which is a cost-effective approach. So what our proposal was, and what the game plan is, move forward with the projects. And I've given you a packet there as an integrated delivery schedule. It's the comprehensive list of all the projects going, not only comprehensive Everglades restoration plan, but also projects that are in the works, like repairing the Hoover Dike. And the key here is to get these projects completed. That will provide more clean water south and provide additional storage opportunities. And you can see from this map, there's no silver bullet. There's projects throughout the system. And so they need to be completed in certain sequence. So it's important that we get these things moving forward. The IDS schedule that you have may change based on the Senate bill. They approved the additional storage reservoirs south. That will be integrated into that system. So but it's a case where it will be vetted by all the various agencies involved with its management. Now let's focus a little bit on the Caloosahatchee watershed, 70 miles from New Haven to Shell Point. It's a 1,400 square mile watershed. It shrinks during drought periods where they'll shut down the lock at Ortona Lock, and this will back drain at Okeechobee, provide supply water. But in the wet season, it expands not only the Caloosahatchee itself, but also all the way up to Orlando if we're getting releases from Lake Okeechobee. So it becomes a very big watershed. And most importantly, we have an estuary of national and state significance. I know a lot of the focus has been on the Everglades, but as you know, we're very passionate about our ecosystem here, and so we need to keep driving that home. A couple of the big projects that are ongoing in this basin. This is part of that SERP, one of the SERP projects. This is the C43 West Basin Reservoir, 10,000-acre project. That's a large reservoir right here at the Hendry County border between Lee County and Hendry County. 170,000 acre-feet of storage that will provide. Now, its primary focus is for dry season flows. So you basically bring in water when there's excess in the Caloosahatchee, filling this thing up, providing dynamic storage back and forth, but able to provide, re-release it back into the estuary when it needs it. And like for now, when we're having a drought, we could use that water to the estuary. So it provides proper salinity for freshwater grasses in the Caloosahatchee. It's an expensive project, nearly $500 million. Fortunately, construction's underway right now, and that's actually looks like our state budget's going to continue to keep that project on schedule. I think it was right now it looks like there's $106 million budgeted for it for next year. Moving a little east, the C43 Water Quality Treatment and Testing Facility, better known as BOMA. This is a 1,700-acre parcel of land that the county actually co-sponsored with the state back in 2007, helped purchase this piece. Its primary focus is for water quality. It's basically initially to test nitrogen reduction. Most of the technology has been for phosphorus, which was important for the Everglades and Lake Okeechobee, because we're an estuary, nitrogen's a limiting nutrient. This test testing facility will tell us what's the most efficient ways and means of reducing nitrogen in our waterway. So right now what they're doing basically is they've built 12 of these, what they call mesocosms. They're 12 large tanks. They're putting different types of plants in there at different depths. They're testing, bringing Clusacci water in and testing to see which ones develop to reduce the most amount of nutrients or nitrogen out of the water column. Next step would be to upscale that, and then finally to build a potentially a 1,200-acre project on this land. That's about a $90 million cost estimate when it's all said and done. And by the way, that's being funded by South Florida Water Management District right now. And so where's the nutrients coming from? Well, tidal Clusacci, which is west of Franklin Rocks, it's about 20% nitrogen loading. Between Franklin Rocks and Lake Okeechobee is about 50%. The lake's still delivering about 30% of the loading. So what's Lee County doing? Well, we're heading on that portion, that tidal portion west of Franklin Rocks right now. And our goal is similar to the regional efforts: quality, quantity, and timing of water. And the biggest driver, the driver that we're doing in terms of all water quality initiatives is the TMDL. That's total maximum daily load. That's a state program. What they've identified is basically you have to remove 23% of the total nitrogen going into the Clusacci, into the waterways. And there's several stakeholders, Lee County being one of them, City of Cape Coral, Lehigh Acres. We all have an allocation reduction to provide 23% reduction total nitrogen in about 20 years. And fortunately, we've got about a third of that already done. So we've got a lot of projects under our belt. The BMAP is a Basin Management Action Plan. That's just the document that shows what each of the stakeholders are doing, their plan and schedule for projects. So how do we get there? Capital improvements, which are projects, filter marshes and such, source control, and conservation lands. This map depicts a lot of projects we've done over the last 10 years, as well as those are on the books and in planning. Represents about a $47 million commitment. As you can see, most of them are following along with Clusacci, with the tributaries, Astoria Bay, and Charlotte Harbor. Just going to give you a sample of some of the projects we've done. Powell Creek Preserve, this is a 20-acre filter marsh on a 77-acre Conservation 2020 land we bought. Moves about 1,200 pounds of total nitrogen per year. You can see it's sandwiched between two mobile home parks. So this provides treatment not only for that area, but also lands to the north. So. Moving on north and east, this is Potash Creek Preserve. There's an old former mine pit. We interconnected those mine pits and created filter marsh. It's about a 307-acre parcel, about a 3,700-acre watershed that drains through this system. We're getting about 6,600 pounds of total nitrogen per year. And by the way, the 23% that Lee County is required to reduce is 150,000 pounds, nearly 150,000 pounds. So you can see the magnitude of our need. Moving further south in Lakes Park, this is actually in Hendry Creek. This is a 30-acre meandering flowway we constructed. 1,750-acre watershed, primarily residential, commercial, light industrial. It removes about 4,500 pounds of total nitrogen per year. And the key here is actually this portion here was built by Reflection Lakes as a developer contribution when that was developed. So there are public and private partnership availability out there as well. On the books, this is under design. This is the Margate Stormwater Park. This is a underutilized county park that we're going to utilize to bring in Bayshore Creek water where it's been channelized. And this area right here is basically a dehydrated wetland. It needs water. It was severed from the water course. And what we're going to do is bring this water in, pre-treat it, and put it, rehydrate this. This kind of serves as a kidney, and then the water quality is cleaner and comes back out. It's going to be designed to remove about 1,300 pounds of total nitrogen per year. Moving north and east, again, a variety type of projects. This is the Clusacci Creek Regional Park. We're going to put a series of retention facilities along here, capture some water from primarily an agricultural watershed, about 4,600 acres of water, and it's going to remove about 800 pounds of total nitrogen per year. Another one back south, this is Hendry Creek at the branch near Lakes Park. This is unique. It's a small piece, but it's kind of unique because it's tidal inflow. So we're going to not only treat the water rainfall that's coming through the system from the north, perhaps also have the ability to treat some of the tidal inflows. then on just more of a planning level, we're getting high concentration of nitrogen in the Deep Lagoon waterway. We're doing a source identification study. And fortunately, we have a lot of 2020 properties in this area, so there may be some opportunities for projects in there. We're going to potentially develop those. Of course, all of these require maintenance, most of it mechanical, some cases by manual labor, so it's by hand, so it's a pretty intensive process. Water quality source control. This is the best bang for the buck. If you stop the pollutants from going in the water body in the first place, you've saved yourself a lot of money. We've had a Lee County fertilizer ordinance since 2008. We just initiated our pet waste public information campaign. Of course, we monitor what we do. We've been sampling most of our water bodies nearly 30 years in some cases. We do monthly grab samples for a host of parameters, nutrients, metals, dissolved oxygen, salinity, you name it. And what's neat about it is this information is available on our website. You can pull up, look at trends, see how it compares to state and water quality standards. So it's a great, valuable tool to see where we're going. As I mentioned before, Conservation 2020, conservation lands in general are significant. Natural water courses and wetlands and flowways provide great water quality benefits. Nearly 25,000 acres have been purchased already. When you add that to nearly 70,000 acres of state and federal protected lands and over 3,600 acres contributed by the private sector, you're really making a nice backbone in terms of natural water quality features. So just to recap, in terms of water quality, in the county, I know since the 80s they've been very active in water quality. I know that they purchased the 6 Mile Cycle Slough, been very active in purchasing the Corkscrew Regional Ecosystem Watershed, constructed filter marshes, put in weirs and canals and storage facilities. The Conservation 2020 land is significant. And we'll continue that because, like I said, we have that other 2/3 of nitrogen reductions to be made. So in the next 5, 10, 15 years, we'll be seeing more projects in the docket. And each year we submit to the state and the South Florida Water Management District and DEP to get grant sharing. And we've been very successful in that. So this is the last slide, the action plan. Immediately looking at the Lake Okeechobee operation schedule. As the Hoover Dike gets repaired, are there opportunities to adjust that schedule? Can it hold more water at the top end? Can I look at the lower end as well? Because those are immediate, no cost. Again, we have to advocate shared diversity. Situations where we're entirely shut off water, but there's no water restrictions on the East Coast. That's got to change. We have to look at our system as well. On the state level, continue and support the Everglades funding. I think this year's budget looks really promising, especially for the C-43 reservoir. It looks like that's going to continue full funding. The Boulder water quality, as that progresses from the science stage, there's 2 more years of design or mattering. We'll eventually have to get into the design and construction, so that will be something we'll be pursuing. We'll continue to pursue our water quality project funding. At the federal level, as I mentioned, the integrated delivery schedule, the board is supported moving forward with that. I think there'll be some modifications if the state creates a priority of that reservoir south of Lake O. Advocate the Hoover Dike repairs. Central Everglades Planning Project, the new reservoir south of Lake Okeechobee, that will require a revision to that document. So, because they've got authorization in 2016, that new reservoir represents a little change in that, so it has to take a congressional authorization to do that, approval to do that. And then again, supporting those list of projects. And locally, we'll continue our TMDR obligations. I know that's a lot, but...
Great presentation, Roland. Thank you. I'm sure we got some great questions. Any questions for Roland?
Measuring the nitrogen coming in and coming out, is that just a chemical process where you're measuring the water and then after it's been sitting there, or plants or whatever, doing to take out the nitrogen? Is that what it's done?
Yeah, we monitor inflows going in and outflows going out and seeing what their concentrations are. Initially, when we get our permits, we do computer analysis and engineering analysis to determine what the expected return is going to be based on similar type of facilities throughout the state. There's a lot of great database out there, and you can apply it to how much acreage you have, and then like you said, oftentimes it's part of our permit conditions to test the water going in and out to make sure that we're achieving what we said we're going to.
One question? Yes, sir.
Yes.
I know it's, the Tourist Development Council at one point paid a lobby firm, I think this was going back 5-7 years ago, and there was a decision made that was not the right way to use the funds, and so we stopped paying them. At this point, how does the county do this lobbying effort?
So we currently do that now through our lobbyists. Now we have federal lobbyists that represents Lee County on the federal level, and we have our state lobbyists for that. And you see Lee County's been very proactive in the past, and we're going to be currently more proactive. We're going to spend $22 million the next 3 to 4 years on more water quality projects locally. I think also with the video here shows a message of what Lee County is going to start. We're not going to wait for the news story to start up. We're going to have a great message here in Lee County, what we've already done to protect your businesses in our community, that we are doing spending a lot of money here in Lee County, and we have a great message to tell. And that all the wind and does not come from one location. I think only 32%, I think, is actually come from Lake Okeechobee.
Yes.
So the nitrogen. So, we're going to get the information out. We're not going to wait for another 7 years now for another rainy season to get out. So all these projects to get completed, we're going to make sure we get the message out so you and your residents, your employees know that what Lee County is doing. And we're going to continue working with the state and the federal authorities of getting funding for these projects. Lee County's been very effective with that. But most important, I think, right now, I've been stressing is to get the message out. And either public service ads or what, we're going to get the message out. Because a lot of times you see this is a really complex system, 2,100 miles of canal, 2,100 miles of canals. So when you see that 8-inch metal pipe on the cattle farm out in Pahokee, that's not Lake Okeechobee. Okay, that's fall footage from years ago, and we keep seeing it showing the same thing, or the green water in a canal on the East Coast, that's not in Cape Coral, it's not in Pine Island. So we're going to make sure we get the message out. That's not what our water looks like here. So you can continue to see it. You see the system, you see how big it is, the actual footage, and it's current. So we're going to make sure we get the message out. Thank you. And Roland staff has been really good, and Lee County's been good in the past, and we're going to continue our efforts here. More questions? Great. Okay, thank you, Roland.
Thank you, Roland.
Okay, next item is to change the date of November 9th TDC meeting to November 13th, 14th. I need a motion for a date for that. I think we have some conflicts on that meeting date for November 9th.
So moved.
Which date?
Which date?
Which date?
I think we're going to go with the
What do y'all want?
13th seems to work pretty well, so just if Monday is not a problem, we'll go with Monday.
I'm good either day, too.
13th?
Yeah.
Motion by Fran, is there a second? For the 13th?
I'll second the motion for the 13th.
Any seconds it? All in favor, say aye. Okay.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, Tamara, you're up.
Okay. Very quickly, bad tax revenue for the month of March, down 1.6%. For the year-to-date, that's a decrease of 2.8%, and that's really half the fiscal year now, so because October through March, so we have half the fiscal year. In terms of the STAR report shows occupancy down 2.7%, ADR 2.5%, for a total RevPAR decrease for the month of March of 5.2%. Traffic at the airport was down 1.4%, but I noticed Fran handed us the RSW News and Notes, and it does point out that that's still the second best month in the 34-year history of the airport, so I think there is context in some of those numbers. I do have Bob here to present to you the first quarter report from DPA. So Bob Dominic, please.
Good morning. I didn't realize the lectern was so far away, or I would have sat closer to the front. Again, I'm Bob Dominic. I'm president of DPA. We've had the privilege of doing the tracking research for Lee County for quite a number of years now, and I'm here this morning to talk about basically this past winter season and how the industry performed. But before I do that, we've just seen a lot of numbers, a lot of facts and figures, and I have a lot more, and sometimes I think it's good to just take a little break. And the other night when I was packing, getting ready to make the trip down to Lee County, I grabbed a couple books off the shelf to stuff in my bag, and one of them happened to be this one, Take Time for Paradise. This was written by Bart Giamatti, and there's probably nobody else here old enough to remember that Bart Giamatti was commissioner of baseball for 4 months in 1989. He was appointed on April 1st and died suddenly 4 months later. He was also a very learned fellow. He served as president of the National League. He served as president of Yale. And he wrote this book, which was, I think, published after his death. And I read it on the plane on the way down, and I wanted to share something near the end of the book that I think will strike a chord with those of you who make your living in this business here. You're doing more than you think you're doing. In the epilogue, Giamatti writes, so games, contests, sports reiterate the purpose of freedom every time they're enacted. The purpose being to show how to be free and how to be complete and connected, unimpeded, and integrated, all at once. This is the role of leisure. If we've known freedom, then we love it. If we love freedom and we feel at some level, it's loss. And then we cherish sport, we cherish leisure. As our forebears did, we remind ourselves through sport and leisure of what here on earth is our noblest hope. Through leisure, we recreate our daily portion of our freedom. See, you didn't know you were doing all that good stuff for humanity, but you are. And if you think about it for a minute, you really are. The people come here, by and large, to take a break from the struggle of everyday existence, and that's important to all of us. So now, back to the winter season. There'll be a quiz later, by the way. Where we're going today is to look quickly at the highlights of the season, a lodging industry summary as usual, visitor satisfaction, which I can tell you in advance is up significantly, and an outlook for the second quarter of 2017. First, looking at the highlights, visitation is up just a little bit, 728,000 for this first quarter. Expenditures, as you've seen from TAM's other data sources, total is down slightly. Lodging is down a little more, -2%, and that tracks pretty well with what we've just heard. Available room nights up about 3%. Occupied room nights, we also showed up a little over 2%. Occupancy rate, that was down a little bit at about 87% over 2016. And then here are the numbers that everybody's concerned about, of course, that average daily rate down about 4.5%, and RevPAR down about 5%. And that also tracks nicely with what we've gotten from our other data sources. Estimated visitation among winter season visitors staying in paid accommodations, we've had a lot of fluctuation over the past 5 years. We've had just a little bit of a bump since 2016. 2013 to 2017 is really actually flat. -0.6% is essentially nothing. Estimated overall visitation is down about 5% over that 5-year period, and that's something that we probably as an industry might want to keep our eyes on. Visitor expenditures, again, the 5-year story for the winter season is that expenditures have been up for paid accommodations 15%. That's a fairly extraordinary run. That reflects what's happened over much of the nation. It's probably among the best examples of what's happened around the nation over the last 5 years. Similarly, among sort of all visitors, expenditures are up about 10%, so you can see that those staying in paid accommodations are really contributing more than their share. Looking at visitor origin, Canada continues to deliver the largest share of international visitors. First, I would look at the left. overall in that 5-year period, about 20% of your visitors are international. And, there's been, I think, some conversation, some concern about what's happened between 2016 and 2017. But yet, if you look at that 5-year history, from 13 to 14, there was a 4% drop. From 16 to 17, there was a 3% drop. So in terms of our tracking, what we may have just seen is not necessarily the worst thing that we've seen over the past 5 years, and the 5-year story is really pretty flat at about 20%. Yep, some fluctuation, but it tends to come back. Canada, we see, is up at 12%, and who knows? Maybe the Canadians have finally gotten used to the fact that it's always nice here in the winter season and it's always bad there, and there's nothing they can do about the exchange rate, and so they might as well enjoy themselves. Your explanation, frankly, is as good as mine. Again, I think we should keep our eyes on Germany and UK. We could still point back at sort of global uncertainties that we've all experienced in the last 6 to 9 months, but I think it bears tracking closely. Paid accommodations, domestic visitor origin. Again, more than half of the domestic visitors staying in paid accommodations come from the Midwest. You can see down from 59% in 2016 to 52% in 2017. And in this winter season, I guess a lot of that was made up for by people from my neck of the woods, that is the Northeast, Boston, and the other New England states. Also, if we move over to the right-hand side of the slide there, you can see Minneapolis and Boston continue to be the strongest feeder markets at 9% and 7% respectively, followed by New York, Chicago. Indianapolis is a tier down, and then we sort of level off Philadelphia, Detroit, St. Louis. No huge surprises there. Turning then to the lodging industry summary. Available room nights have fluctuated over the past 5 years, showing an increase over the last year. It was a relatively small increase, but then, okay. You know what I was supposed to do a long time ago? I have the hardest time remembering this. Put my glasses on. Wow, an attractive crowd. Okay, well, this makes everything easier. Occupied room nights. Winter season up about 3.9%, almost 4%, and then we can see pretty much flat available room nights, 1.9 million back in 2013, 1.19 million in 2017. That was a minus 0.01%, so not much has changed there. And I think in some sense we all understand that as the phenomenon of a building of an inventory that then has taken more or less 5 years to work its way into the system and to be completely utilized. Occupancy rate trends. Average occupancy rate has been on the rise over the past 5 years. 3.9%, you can see on the big arrow going from left to right, which is a nice trend. Of course, you're concerned with what happened this winter between 2016 and 2017. You did observe that couple percentage point drop. Our data analysis in a dispassionate way tells us that was not a significant number, that it's within what we might expect. But anytime you're seeing on-the-ground changes, I think that bears watching. And you can also take a look at occupancy rate trends by property type on the next slide. I won't spend any more time with this other than to point to the fact that it's here. Average daily rate trends, all property types combined. Again, the fabulous news over this 5-year period is this 16.1% increase. The bottom line is the industry has been able to charge more for this product, and those charges have basically increased. Now, again, I understand that the concern, the conversation in Lee County is about what happened between 16 and 17. Well, if I look back at the history of our data collection and our reporting and the conversations we have in this room, what I see is that When there started to be some conversation about softening in the market, that conversation was in our data. It was taking place in this room. My guess is what happened is the members of the industry took proactive actions, tinkered with rates, to make sure that insofar as possible, they didn't lose visitation. In fact, that bears this out. If you take some time and look back through this quickly, I'm trying to basically tell you the story, you haven't lost much in the way of visitors, essentially. You have lost some money, but that was because you intelligently lowered rates so that you didn't lose people. And again, we also have average daily rate trends by property type. And then again, RevPAR trends, all property types combined. And even better, 5-year story, up 21% over those 5 years. And even more problematic, 2016 to 2017 story. But again, I believe that this is basically the result of discretionary adjustments that probably were intelligently made. We hope we're coming into a more favorable political and economic climate, and that we can find some stability both in rates and visitation. And again, we can look at RevPAR by property type. The tremendous news and the tremendous opportunity going forward is really visitor satisfaction. What we heard when we talked to people this past winter is that people are satisfied with their visit. On the top left, when you see the number going from 92% satisfaction to 94% in those little brackets around the 94% say that was actually a statistically significant rise in visitor satisfaction. So the people that you managed to get here are very happy. Looking at quality of accommodations, that is top right. Absolutely no loss, in some actual gain in the far exceeded expectations from 33 to 34%. So the people who are here are happy with the experience they have in accommodations. And then the bottom, which I think is really the story for the future and the reason we bother to track this and the reason that we bother to talk about it, is the opportunity. When you see likelihood to recommend Lee County going from 85 to 88%, again with the little brackets around it, so that is statistically significant, meaning it is not likely to have happened by chance. It is likely to be very real. That's your opportunity to attract first-time visitors. And getting first-time visitors is the key to growth, because if you move over to the right, you see that among returning visitors, satisfaction has moved from 85% to 91%, which means once you get them here, they are really happy to be here. So, the story, why does this matter? Bottom right, opportunity to attract first-time visitation. Bottom left, once you get people to Lee County, you can keep them coming back. The outlook for the second quarter of 2017, we're still not quite where we want to be in terms of property managers' projections for reservations for the spring of 2017. If we look at March of last year and April of this year, we're not seeing a huge difference, 61%, 57%. We could argue people are feeling about the same, people are seeing about the same thing in their business. Perhaps if you look at the far right, we could take some consolation in the fact that that top box, that 30%, is up from 23%. But there's still not tremendous confidence coming in over the web or through the telephone. And so it continues bearing, watching how things unfold. And much of what will unfold is beyond the power of any of us here in Lee County or Florida or even the U.S. But some things are within our power, and I think that the great thing from this total report this year is you hung on to visitation largely, and there were some sacrifices in money, but I think you did that to hang on to people. So thank you very much for the opportunity. And if there are any questions, I would try to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions for Bob? Colleen?
When you do these through interviews, correct?
You get the answers to your questions through interviews, or these stats come from the hotels? You do interviews, right?
Well, yeah, certainly, there are lots of interviews done around.
So when you ask somebody if they stay in an Airbnb, do those numbers go into the condo vacation home stat?
Yeah.
I was just, okay, so I was just curious where
There's multiple things going on here.
Right.
So we've got a visitor survey, which
Right.
surveys the visitors.
Correct.
And then there's an accommodation survey that goes to the accommodations partners. So some data is coming from what the visitors report, and some data is coming from what the hoteliers or
Right.
vacation rental companies or RV parks are reporting.
Right.
So they're not the same.
I know, but that's what feeds this data that we receive.
Correct.
So if somebody is staying in, like, an Airbnb, they're going to be tucked into the condo, probably either that or maybe the campgrounds. I'm not sure if they've hit that yet already, but, so I was just curious where those numbers went, because we don't differentiate or not put them in here because.
That's correct.
Okay.
They are included.
Okay.
What type of response do you get from the industry partners when you send out the surveys for the occupancy and rate?
Well, thank you for
Varies.
asking.
I would love more. Bob and I would love more.
We would love more. We
112 respondents, last survey.
right.
Out of how many?
Bob, how many are we sending out? 150, 160 something like
Yeah,
that?
certainly well over 150.
Yeah.
But the more participation we can get, the more accurate that barometer of future expectations is going to be. And Tam and I have talked for a long time about how we can get people to participate.
We incentivize you. We put you into a drawing for $10,000 in co-op if you'll fill it out every quarter.
But that's more than it used to be. That's a much stronger number than we used to get historically. 113.
Yeah, that's about right.
Good.
That's about right.
Used to be
Yeah, look,
ugly.
100. Sometimes, there's been times when Bob and I have had a conversation, and near the end, he had 90, and, you know, you might have gotten a call from me to say, please fill out your survey, because it's time.
Right.
You know, I understand it takes time for the industry to do this, but this is data that you guys and the Bureau and our marketing partners are all making decisions based on. So it's this information, the participation in the survey is critical to us. And
Right. And backing up to the barometer and so forth, I'm basically an aggregator and processor of information to give back to you in a useful form. So, I mean, to the extent that we can engender participation, what I'm going to aggregate and give back to you is going to be better information.
Any other questions of Bob? Joe?
Bob, the projected reservation slide, I mean, I'm probably not a great barometer, but let me just say, if it's business travel, I'm making that reservation quite a ways out. Nowadays, leisure travel for me, I'm doing it electronically. I'm probably waiting for the best deal and really taking my time. I'm wondering, I mean, there is a severe drop-off, obviously, between 2015 and then 16 and 17. Are you seeing that elsewhere? Is that an industry trend because of things like technology, or is this unique to us, do you think?
I think well, you see some of it, I think, across the board. I think that cycle is being shortened for leisure travel, and I think that's a good observation. On the other hand, in this particular season, in this particular location, we had some pretty odd things going on in 2014 and 15. I think Tam often refers to them as sort of the polar vortex, that we had just horrendous, long horrendous winters, and I think people really planned ahead and thought about getting away, and I think they learned this lesson in 14, and so it carried over and became even stronger in 15, and then as we then go more and more, then 16 was this mild winter, and we kept waking up in the morning and thinking, oh, I've got to go out and shovel, and we'd open the door and the sun was shining. So I think reservations dropped off then, but I think increasingly people are also doing exactly what you've indicated, certainly on leisure travel.
I think the hoteliers would tell you, Glenn, that the winter cycle typically booked way out, but they're seeing shorter and shorter booking windows on the.
About 2 weeks less. I mean, they're booking much shorter in, or last minute, especially this time of year. What's the weather? But I mean, what this shows is you had optimistic hoteliers in 14 and 15, and you got not very optimistic hoteliers in 16 and 17.
And remember, 15 was coming, 16 was coming off all the challenges we know we had in 16. And same thing.
This has been a pretty accurate indicator, I know, over the years.
No, it's been not very accurate. You guys are much more pessimistic than the results. I can assure you. Bob, am I right?
Well, it's really true. I mean, 3 months ago, and I was talking about the pessimism from the fall, but then the winter actually turned out, again, pretty well from a sort of a detached perspective.
I mean, don't get me wrong, in terms of trend, maybe, but you're much less optimistic than the results are. Even in the good times, you were not very, really, in 2014, only 50% thought it was going to be better in 2015.
Makes you look good.
Right.
Promise never did.
Right, exactly, yeah. Under promise, over deliver, but, trend, probably true, it's probably indicative, but not an accurate predictor of the results.
Any other questions for Bob?
Okay. Thank you for your engagement. I think these conversations keep things moving.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. Next, we're going to hear from Jeff Melke, Sports Development Update.
Good morning, Council. Jeff Melke with the Lee County Sports Development Office. Today, quickly, we'll go through our first calendar quarter, January through March, and talk a little bit about spring training. So in the packet, you've got a breakdown of every event that we hosted throughout the first quarter, but just going to highlight the month here. 9,000 hotel rooms in room nights sold through amateur sports events in January 2017. Happens to be the best January that our office has ever hosted. That had a $3.6 million direct visitor spending. Three key reasons, we continue to have this perfect game product in our community. The MLK weekend event really grew pretty strong. We also hosted for the first time the National Federation of High School Athletic Directors. That was actually in partnership with the Vision Convention Bureau group sales team, and it was hosted at the Hyatt Coconut Point, and that was great for us. It was able for the Florida High School Athletic Association to showcase our state and our community to their national organization, and as you all know, we host the Florida High School State Championships in partnership with FHSAA. So anytime we can host a national conference and showcase our partnership is a great thing. And then, we continue to try to get into these non-traditional sports, and Estero Rec Center has got this great disc golf course down there, and we just continue to throw non-traditional events out there, and they may only be 300 or 400 room nights at a time, but they're 300 or 400 room nights at a time. So that's our trend line for January, and as you can see, it's significantly better than we've had in traditional past years. February, 5,200 room nights programmed through amateur sports, $2 million direct visitor spending. Warhawk Sunshine Classic was one of the key ones. Much like the Warhawk World Series in October, November, they have all ages of adult men who play a weekend series for 3 consecutive weekends, clear up to age 65. And so that certainly is starting to have an impact in February. We're actually becoming a little bit of a host community for some NCAA Division I baseball organizations. University of Missouri has come down and set up for anywhere from 7 to 10 days and played exhibition games. Northeastern comes down. University of Minnesota comes down every now and then to play against the Twins. Hofstra has been here, Seton Hall. And we are hoping to host a 4-team Division I event next year, but we've recently been throwing a little wrinkle, which I'll talk about in a moment. So we're going to see what happens with that. But Division I baseball, actually NCAA baseball of all levels, continues to be strong in Lee County in February and March. And then FYSA soccer, I've talked to you guys in the past about how a lot of our Februaries and Marches tend to go with what events we were rewarded by FYSA, which is the Florida Youth Soccer Association. There is so much competition for youth soccer events, especially with all the new venues that have been built up and down I-75. We're in Region C. In Region C alone, you've had the Lake Nola facility in Polk County was built to be the state home of FYSA, so they get a lot of their events. And then with the Lakewood Ranch facility, 22 fields in Sarasota, they're also in Region C. And then you've got North Collier Regional Park. So we're competing against all of these facilities for FYSA business. So we have really re-engaged them, and you'll see some FYSA President's Cups, Region C qualifiers, things like that starting to come back on our calendar. That's trend line pretty much. Thankfully we've grown February from what it was over the last 3 years. We're still not quite up to its 2013 high, but we're working on it. All right, March is traditionally spring training in town. We have still amateur events going on, although we don't focus nearly our efforts on March as we do the other months for obvious reasons. 8,400 room nights sold through amateur events, $3.8 million in direct spending. 72% of that business is the Gene Cusick Classic, which is actually owned and operated by our Lee County Parks and Recreation Department. So it's very valuable to us. We support them in any way that we can to make sure that these college teams continue to come into our community. And again, just we always have these discussions trying to figure out how to keep the Cusick alive and how to keep it relevant in the world of college spring break tournaments, both baseball and softball. And then other than that, again, FYSA soccer, some came back in March, and then we had an AAU gymnastics event. What we're doing is we're keeping our eyes open for March opportunities. It used to be that we didn't look for anything in February and March, but now we're really looking for opportunities. We're not spending a lot of our time and resources looking for March business, but if something comes along that tolerates the room rate in March and is willing to come down here and be a part of our community during March, and it's a good fit, then we are servicing them and making sure that we're taking some extra steps now to try to secure some of that business. So you'll see that a little bit going forward as part of our strategy on trying to build March business above maybe the 9,000 room night threshold through amateur sports. Again, not knowing that you don't need a lot of rooms filled in March, but we are continuing to look for opportunities. Before we go to questions, I just wanted to mention spring training a moment. This is the first time that I've done a report since our 2017 spring training season hit. For all intents and purposes, especially with the fact that we had the World Baseball Classic that interrupted spring training as it does every few years, both teams did really well. Combined total attendance was 276,000, so we had 250,000 spring training fans for our community this year. There's not a lot of communities, actually there's no communities in Florida that can say that for two teams with this high of attendance level. Again, the Twins did very well over, I think Mark's here, 120,000 was the number that we got from them. Red Sox ended up leading the Grapefruit League in attendance, so it was a strong spring training season for us. And the reason I mentioned that Division I baseball tournament, there's been a wrinkle thrown into it, which was scheduled for mid-February, and we've got some really technical questions. I can see if Mark wants to say a few words. But we've recently learned that Major League Baseball, through their collective bargaining agreement, has decided to move spring training and their entire season up. So spring training, for all intents and purposes now, will start to occur around the first games of the season will probably be around February 22nd or 23rd. This is no longer going to be a March 1st through March 30th product. So those of you who do budgets and count on room blocks and things like that, you have to start understanding that spring training is going to move up. A couple reasons for that. Again, it was in the collective bargaining agreement. They don't want to continue to have the World Series in November, so they're moving the entire season up. Players want a few more extra days off during the year. So Major League Baseball opening day, where traditionally is April 1st to April 3rd, is now going to always be around the April 24th time period, April 25th. Mark, Mike, is that?
March. Yeah, March 25th.
I'm sorry, March.
March 28th next year.
Okay, so in the last part of March. So that will affect our season somewhat. You know, again, our season is affected by Easter a lot, when Easter falls as well, but I think we need to start looking at the fact that spring training's probably moving up in our calendar by about a week. So, the only other thing I have is that, as you all know, our key partnership, the reasons for our success, the reasons why sports tourism is what it is in the county is because of our Parks and Recreation Department. I've said it a million times to you all, and we're blessed to have this group that we have. I don't know if you have been formally introduced or know that Jesse Lavender was recently appointed as the new director of Parks and Recreation, but he's in the room. So those of you who don't know Jesse, Elise Lanjak, Deputy Director, is also here, and I think what I think is pretty cool, selfishly, is that both of them at one time were managers over the athletic coordinators, which is our sports tourism team at Parks and Recreation. So both of them have intimately involved in our sports tourism product. They're both incredibly supportive. They understand how important it is, and really, again, we're so interconnected between our sports office and Parks and Rec and with our Visitor Convention CVB partnership. We continue to try to collaborate with all these other Lee County agencies, but just wanted to make sure you all knew Jesse, and if you have a chance to say hi to him after the meeting, please do so. Now, questions? Yes.
Jeff, quick question. If Collier decides to go ahead with the extra penny and build those fields down in Collier County, how do you think that'll impact sports tourism for us?
It will continue to, there's two sides of that. One, we have a regional partnership with Collier and Charlotte. So we do a lot of things as Southwest Florida Sports. So it will make our region stronger. When we have larger events, larger softball tournaments, larger soccer events, things like that, we already cross county lines. When it comes to each individual county, they will continue to be a stronger competitor against us. We already lose business to North Collier Regional Park because it's a bigger facility and it's more modern than anything we have. Our largest soccer facility is 6 fields. North Collier Regional is 8. Then they also have 5 youth baseball and softball fields on it, which they can then turn the outfields diagonal and play little kid soccer on them. So for events, that tends to be a pretty dynamic facility. Again, the good thing is Lee County has so many resources allocated to sports tourism. Collier County, I think, is really just starting to get into it, and they're really trying to figure out who they want to be and what they want to be in the sports tourism world, and they continue to look to us for advice and partnership. And you know, not to say they're not all being really successful on their own, they are, but we have a really good relationship with them, and we tend to not chase events against each other, and we try to have a coordinated effort.
Jeff, I have a question on that topic, though. Some of the questions I've been asked publicly is, would Collier County be able to fill the hotel rooms necessary for that? Do they have the accommodations for that? And also the price range, would their hotels be in the price range for the families coming into the sports fields?
At certain times, they have the capacity for it, and they have the desire for it. They are certainly not quite as aggressive about going after sports tourism in the first quarter of the calendar year, January through March. Lucy, help me here. You're from down there. You know,
You're right. They don't really care for any sports events the first quarter just because of the season. And there's such a leisure market down there that they're not looking for that kind of business. They're really striving for the summer.
Yeah, and that's really Collier County's focus for amateur events, sports, is summer and fall. So they will have a 6-month target window. This is when we want you to really be aggressive about chasing after sports, amateur sports.
I could have Roger give you a little update of what's going on with Lee County and the city of Fort Myers for the fiveplex.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're just about ready to ink an agreement with the city of Fort Myers where they will donate an additional almost 90 acres of land contiguous to the fiveplex, which is the old Red Sox training facility. We are funded to build an additional 5 fields, so the city of Fort Myers will have the agreement in front of them on the 19th. We'll have it in front of the county commission on the 20th, and as soon as that's finished, then we'll be into design.
On that note, that's FSW is playing there now?
No,
that's the original.
FSW is playing at the City of Palms. That's their home field. I don't think are they using fiveplex for practice? I don't think so.
No, they pretty much set up their baseball and softball program at City of Palms Park down here. What Roger was just talking about is the old minor league complex for the Red Sox, which is at the end of Edison, almost out to Ortiz.
Okay.
And the fields out there now, they're youth fields, and they're not lit. But with this project, it'll be 5 additional fields. We'll light all of the fields in. We expect to build that out to a 16-field complex by the time it's finished sometime over the next few years. And it'll be our premier ballpark complex for youth and amateur athletics.
Thank you.
You know, I have to ask this, is 16 fields strong enough for us to keep perfect game in our community?
I think those are discussions that we continue to have with that organization, trying to really define what their needs are.
Colleen, the short answer is yes. We've been talking with Perfect Game for some time, and it's always been 16 fields in one place. Everybody knows about the Babcock offer, and if we would build fields in Babcock, they start to cannibalize the fields down here, and so we're not interested in doing that or making a $70 million investment up in that part of Lee County right now. So the fields at the old practice fields for the Sox, when that's finished, it'll serve Perfect Game nicely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Jeff? Great, thanks for great news, Jeff. New business. Tamara, you're up again.
I am. So it is time for you to formalize the conversation you had during the beach and shoreline workshop for the projects that you reviewed. And in doing so, we have a number of legislative findings that we need to, that's loud, legislative findings that we need to, motions that you need to make. And so Nancy McPhee is not with us today, so I'm going to be the person who reads these motions or reads these legislative findings, and I'm hoping one of you will say motion and one of you will say second after each one of these.
You can't do them all at once.
We cannot do them all at once, unfortunately. According to Ms. Frazier. So, for the City of Sanibel Beach and Shoreline Erosion Survey.
So moved.
Second. All right, let me read what the finding is, though. You need to make a legislative finding that this project relates to and primarily promotes tourism.
So moved.
Motion, second. Any opposed? No opposed, next item.
Okay, City of Sanibel Facility Beach Maintenance. We need a legislative finding that upgrading the facility signage is related to and primarily promotes tourism.
So moved.
Second.
Any opposed? No opposition, next item.
For the Captiva Erosion Prevention District, the Captiva Beach Maintenance, Park Maintenance, please make a legislative finding that placing signage is related to and primarily promotes tourism.
I'll make the move.
Have a second? Second. Any opposed? No opposed, item moved.
For the Mantanzas Pass Boardwalk Replacement, our Lee County Facilities Project, we need a legislative finding that this project, used by tourists to observe wildlife, native plants, and access a paddlecraft landing, satisfies the statutory requirements that constitutes a remodeling of an improved nature center.
Motion to approve?
Second. Any opposed?
For the Cayo Costa State Park maintenance vehicle, Polaris 6x6 maintenance vehicle, we need a legislative finding that the Polaris Ranger 6x6 serves the purpose of beach improvement, maintenance, renourishment, restoration, or erosion control.
So moved.
Second. No opposed? Item moves.
For the Barrier Islands Park Society request related to the Gasparilla Island visitor transportation, we need a legislative finding that this project is related to tourism and primarily promotes that purpose.
So moved.
Second?
Any opposed? No opposed? Item move forward.
For the Town of Fort Myers beach access interpretive signs, I need a legislative finding that this project is related to tourism and primarily promotes that purpose. This determination must show a distinct and direct relationship between tax revenue expenditure and tourism promotion.
So moved.
Second.
Any opposed? No opposed? Item move. Well, Commissioner Manning was here, he said he didn't do that quick enough.
Okay, I apologize. I didn't go fast enough.
I'm just kidding.
Those are hard to read because the words don't all fit together completely. Could you put the chart up so that they can now that they've made all the appropriate legislative findings, that they can approve the list of projects and the funding? It is on your iPad, but this is the review that you made during your workshop, about $8.4 million worth of beach and shoreline funding for a number of projects throughout the community.
Get a motion for the final?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any opposed? No opposition? Item moves forward.
Thank you very much. In light of time, Berta is here with the budget, but I will say that unless you have any questions, we need a motion to accept the second quarter budget report. But we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any opposition? No. Item moves forward. Right. You done?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. And that's why Carol, she's here from RSW to give us an update on the fairs, competitive fairs. Morning, Carol.
Hi. Well, hello? Is it right here, should I?
You just talk.
Just
It's
talk?
good, yeah, it'll pick it up.
Okay, here we go. Well, thank you, everybody, for having me here. Last month, when we were here, there was some discussions on fairs at RSW. I just want to, before I start talking a little bit about fairs, I just want to discuss some things that I heard that, some misconceptions that may be out there. Airports don't set fares. I mean, that is strictly an airline that they set the fares. We don't have anything to do with that. And you may be thinking, well, you know what, well, maybe sometimes the costs may come into play, setting fares of what the airport costs are. When you look at an airline, their costs are based, their driving costs are number one, fuel at 27%, labor 22%, maintenance 15%, and aircraft ownership at 12%. Airport costs only come in to 4% of the overall cost of an airline. So, with that being said, I'll give you a little overview. We pulled some data from the DOT and on fares. What we looked at 10 of our top markets at RSW. We looked at New York, Chicago, Boston, Detroit, Minneapolis, Philadelphia, Indianapolis, Baltimore, Washington, Atlanta, and Cleveland. All 10 markets, when compared year over year, 2014 to 2016, on average, had a decrease in fares ranging from $7 to $11 in those 10 markets. and the total decrease of $6 to $8 per one-way fare of all of RSW's nonstop markets in that same period. RSW, again, this is another DOT fact, RSW ranks as the 14th least expensive airport out of 100 airports, and this is small, medium, and large airports. And we pride ourselves at RSW, and everybody here should think of that too. We have a nice mix. I mean, we have legacy carriers, we have low-cost carriers, and we have ULCC carriers, ultra-low-cost carriers, so Spirit, Frontier. So we have a very nice mix. If anything happened to any of those carriers, we wouldn't be dominated by one certain carrier that we would, lose a lot of business and we'd lose a lot of flights. So having that mix is very, very important to our area and our airport. And one thing I wanted to say too, and this is going to be really good news, and I'm going to make this short. So we just got our numbers in from April, and they are going to be, it's going to be a home run. I think everybody's going to like what they're going to see, what our numbers are going to be. So with that being said, I mean, we couldn't have done all this without everybody in this room, and we continue to work to gain more carriers and more capacity into RSW. I know some of the things that were brought up specifically was, Lauderdale. And Lauderdale has a lot more capacity than we do. They are dominated by 3 of the top low-cost carriers. They're focus cities for JetBlue, Southwest, and Spirit. So when you have carriers like that and they're just dumping capacity, it's a fierce, fierce competition over there. And when that happens, you're going to get ultra low-cost, low fares. Bigger airport, 26 million total passengers, or 8.4. More population, 7 million compared to our 5-county air trade area of 1.4. So there are differences, but we do have the airport and we do have the nice mix. So thank you for everybody for having us here, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Any questions from the floor for Carol?
Just an administrative question, Carol. O&D, is that overseas and domestic? What does that stand for?
Originating and destination. So they originate, they stop and start in Fort Myers. Okay. Did you, okay, Rob?
Yeah, I imagine that seasonality might come into play here that doesn't in other places that might have less dramatic differences between in season and out of season. Is that, do your carriers mention that so that?
Absolutely. I mean, we go to headquarters and we talk to our carriers all the time, and that August, September plays into it, which is most areas are like that. But the seasonality, like you say, Rob, after Easter into, the beginning of October, that is a concern, but that's shrinking. And what's really great about what we have, and we work with the VCB with, is having the air balloon. When you have that nonstop, when you have the international factor coming in, not only with a nonstop of air balloon, but other Europeans coming in here via hubs. So that really helps having the international traffic too. But yeah, for domestic, that plays into it.
So the question last month I was posed was because you brought up Fort Lauderdale was because somebody's saying they could fly to Fort Lauderdale, rent a car, drive here cheaper than, I personally rather just drive here, not drive across the state, but if somebody wants to say $50, that's fine. So is it because of the competitive market you say, because it's a large airport, they do special rates?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what's driving it. It's a bigger airport, and the competition, there's so many seats going in there. I mean, and they're fighting for that market share. I mean, it's a bloodbath going in there, and they're constantly undercutting each other, and you're going to see the low fares there.
So. Well, I get the emails from JetBlue all the time. Vegas to Fort Lauderdale, $99. I mean, so I see them trying to push that market. What can we do here locally to get more direct flights to, like, Vegas and different areas of the country to get more...
Well, we're working, I mean, we totally are talking to we have those 3 carriers as well, JetBlue, Spirit, and Southwest. I mean, Spirit, I mean, and you'll see it on our numbers coming out in April, they are really, I mean, we're working very hard with them, and they're doing quite well. I mean, and we're working with them for new destinations. They took an additional gate at RSW, some more space, so they are very interested in growing the market. And we just have to be, as air service professionals, in front of these carriers, just saying, hey, here's what we have to offer, here's what we're doing, here's how we work with the community, here's our incentive program. So we're always thinking and in front of them saying, what can we do? We want your business.
Anything new with London or anything? I know Dusseldorf's been great with Berlin, Air Berlin, but any updates?
Yeah, we've had some really, I mean, I can't really go too much into this, but some very good meetings with some London carriers, some low-cost transatlantic carriers. I feel, and I'm sure Tam, I mean, we've been working with those VCBs on this too. This is probably the closest we've gotten in a long time to, as far as our talks go with some UK carriers. So we feel positive, and but it's moving. It's they're getting an idea. You see with the low-cost international carriers coming in with the Norwegians, I mean, they want to come into secondary markets now. So, you know, we're starting to get on their radar as far as that goes.
I think some of the challenges at the East Coast airports, I mean, I will admit I'm one of those people that drives to Fort Lauderdale to use the airport for a direct flight, not to save money, but for a direct flight. For a direct flight. And to see my daughter in Austin. And I know Carol Southwest is going to give us that flight May of next year when she graduates from college. But with that said, we'll be thrilled to have, don't get me wrong, but, you know, dang. I've been begging. Every time we meet with them, I beg. And Allegiant. I've been begging Allegiant, too, I want you to know, because they fly from St. Pete to Boston. But with that said, that airport, I mean, I don't want to be disparaging, but this last time we always park in the economy lot, and they've closed the economy lot, and they sent us to the sign sent us to the garage. And when I got to the garage was full. And so now, you know, I mean, I planned ahead. I mean, I'm not a late arriver to the airport, but at this point I've been circling the garage, and I've been to the economy lot, and we had to valet. There were no spaces at the Fort Lauderdale airport for anyone to park. So, that gets to be more and more of a challenge to the carriers that come in there. RSW is going to be more and more attractive to the consumer. I mean, literally, I said to my husband, I think from now on we'll be connecting. Mm-hmm. You know, I love the direct flight, but all the other conveniences of our airport make me want to fly out of here now. Mm-hmm. So with that said, you know, it is something that I think will be happening. We're going to see growth. That's good.
Currently, how much more capacity can you take right now with your existing gates that you have?
We have 28 gates. We can expand to 65. So, I mean, Gene, what's the total amount that we could do as far as?
Between our lease gates and our gates open for common use and overflow, we're probably at about 60% capacity of gates leased. So those overflow gates are available for more capacity.
So we do have room to expand, and that's really what's so great about our airport. We can expand. I mean, I know Gene's more involved in, you know, with the expansion that we're doing in the next 5 years with gates and screening and stuff. So we have to look at that. I mean, because it just can happen. I mean, when you see our numbers, I mean, it's just when you see Southwest, Spirit, the way they're growing and taking space, that always has to be, that's in the back of our mind, and we're always looking at that.
Any other questions? Great. Thank you for that information, Carol.
Thank you.
Great. We'll move on to the council information. Anybody have any information?
There are a few things in your packet, but for your nighttime reading.
Okay. And there's time to go to TDC members. We'll start with Tony. Do you have anything?
Nope.
Good.
For the Memorial Day weekend.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Good.
May 25th will be the Lee County Hotel Association meeting at the Hilton Garden Inn Alico on Fort Myers Airport at 12 noon, so please plan on attending. And then on behalf of the Lee County Hotel Association, I wasn't unfortunately able to attend, but all the feedback was fantastic for Travel Day and the job that was done there, so congratulations on that. You and your team did an amazing job.
Kelly?
I would like to thank everybody with the VCB and all the volunteers that helped us with a very successful Chrysalis Awards a couple weeks ago, and congratulations to all those that received awards. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't think so. Happy Mother's Day.
Okay. Yes. Coming up. Okay.
Just a quick observation, and we've been beating around, the drop in our occupancy over the last quarter. But, sometimes you sit back and you say, well, maybe it has absolutely nothing to do with what we are doing or not doing, because every now and then in macroeconomics, you just take a dip in the economy. And so you hear, like this year, automobile sales are down after 7 years of growth. And investment houses are saying, well, I don't expect the returns that you've got in the last couple of years. So it might just be a dip in the overall economy we have to ride out, and it's nothing we're doing or not doing.
Hopefully it doesn't last a year, but that's true. Yes, sir.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
The first segment of Stara Boulevard is complete. Thank you very much, Commissioner and staff. I'd encourage you to come down and take a look at how people are using Stara Boulevard. It is such a dramatic change in our town, and greatly appreciated. And nothing else.
Great, thank you. Yeah? Nothing. I just want to give an update. I've been in discussions with some members, some groups with the Web.com and PGA Tour. They're looking at hosting a tournament here next year and a golf course in Southern County. As it progresses, I can, provide more information. They're just trying to get sponsorships right now. Right now they got Need Health involved. They're trying to get some local businesses involved. I've been here next probably March at a South Golf Course, which will bring a lot of hotels to the room. A lot of people to the hotels here locally, so hopefully it's a success. If I get more information in the future, I'll be happy to share it with you, though. Roger, do you have anything from staff?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. You enjoy.